Hi everybody, I'm Dave.
And I'm Brenda. And this is Molly.
Tonight, we're going to watch a rocket launch from our backyard. We're also going to talk about drones for Christmas. And the big question we've been getting is, how do you choose which village to move to if you move to the villages? We're going to talk about all three of those tonight on our Fireside Chat. And we have rocket launches here in Florida, since we have Cape Canaveral. How far away is that? Maybe 50, 60 miles?
Probably,
something like
yeah.
that. But you can see the rocket launches when the weather's right. You can't do it if it's cloudy, but you can see the rocket launches from many areas in the villages. We can see it right out our backyard. And you'd be surprised how well it shows up.
I was very surprised how bright it is.
Yeah. So we have filmed a launch that just happened an hour or so ago, and we're going to put that up for you to see exactly what it's like in our backyard. All right, we're going to be filming from our backyard in McClure. This launch is a Falcon 9 over in Cape Canaveral, carrying up some Starlink satellites. Now you can see on a clear day almost all of the launches from Cape Canaveral. I'm hoping that the video will do it justice. All right, we're about 30 seconds from launch of the Falcon 9 rocket out at Cape Canaveral. Again, we're about 1 hour after sunset, so it'll be a nice night launch. Hopefully, very clear skies at the moment, so hopefully we'll get a good view of this. And we'll see how. We're at 10 seconds. And it'll be a little while before it shows on the camera. It has to get up in the airways. I'm watching on a live feed, and all right, we have ignition, and it is lifting off. All right, you see that? It actually came up higher, quicker than I thought it would. Let me get zoomed in. That's the Falcon 9 rocket. Back out so you can see, comparing it to things around it. It's pretty spectacular. I know on camera it's not going to do it justice, but this is what you can see, you know, basically from your backyard. Let's see how much zooming I can get here. Yeah, there it is. Just trying to get some focus. Hard to focus on something that far out. Bring it back out. We're about a minute into the liftoff. Now back off of it again, let it focus, so you kind of see, even with it that far out. Oh, it's got a great tail. Oh, there we go. There, I'm focusing in on it. Amazing. I may have to move this rocket, move the camera, so we'll go behind a tree here in a minute. Oh, that's amazing shots that we're able to get. Hang tight with me while I get it refocused if I can find it. Yeah, it's going directly away from us. And I think they may have main engine cut off. I'm not sure there, because I do not see it now. I think that was it. That was the best view of it. So that is typical of launches here in Florida. You can see from the villages, even though we are many, many miles away. I'm guessing 50 or 60 miles at least. All right, I'll try and catch another one in the future. I just think it's so cool to be able to see these rockets go, you know, right out our back door. We can watch them, and they happen fairly often.
Oh, and I love it when you have the real countdown happening as we watch it right here.
There are a bunch of apps you can use to see when a rocket launch is going to be. We have them. Sometimes they're just a few days apart. Sometimes it might be a month in between. But there are a lot of launches over there. So pull up the app. You can watch a live feed, as she was talking about. I didn't want to put that on camera today. Made her just a little bit in the background, but I'm not sure the copyright laws on that, so I didn't put that on screen for you. But if you live down here, that's the thing to do.
The night ones.
The night ones, yeah. Yeah, you can't see. The daytime ones don't show up. But the night launches are great. Now, some of them are early in the morning. I wanted to film one for you several weeks ago. It was going to be a good launch, too, but it was like 3 in the morning.
We didn't make it.
I couldn't bring myself to set the alarm to do that for you. So this one was perfect. I actually didn't realize it was going to happen until about 5 minutes before, and my app alerted that there was a launch. So we scrambled out here to get some video of it. So,
and it was perfect timing.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things that fly, now I want to talk about drones for Christmas. If you're thinking about getting a drone for yourself, for your child, for your grandchild, for your husband, wife, wanted to talk about some of the things to consider on that. The reason I'm saying this, I was home in Virginia for Thanksgiving, and a friend of mine, or you may not realize, I actually was a flight medic for a little bit of time while I was in Virginia. So I was on the Virginia State Police aircraft Med Flight 1. Well, a friend of mine that also is a flight medic, he shared an article of something at a close call that happened with a drone in Virginia just a few days ago. So I thought it was worth sharing here. For those of you that are thinking about getting a drone, they're great hobbies. I'm not saying don't get one, but please know the rules.
Yeah, I was very surprised with all the rules that happen with the drone that you're not aware of.
Yeah, even as a hobbyist, if you're just getting one for your own use, flying it around, those drones are capable of doing a lot of things, but you need to know the laws. You can't fly it as much as the drone would allow you to. It will go miles and miles, but you can't legally fly it that far. There's FAA regulations for it. I'll give you some basic ones. This incident, I want to read off what happened in, this was up in Charlottesville, Virginia. And this hits close to home because the aircraft that I used to be on, I had actually trained on one of them that was in the Charlottesville helicopter crash that happened several years ago when Charlottesville had some things, the uprising that was happening there. But that aircraft I'd actually been in before, and I had flown with that pilot many times, the one that was killed in that crash. So this hits a little bit close to home. That's why I wanted to talk about it tonight. But last week, on the 23rd of November, a medical helicopter bringing a patient. So it had a patient in there to UVA Medical Center, that's in Charlottesville, had an encounter with a drone. It was flying above the legal limit area. I'll basically tell you the story. What had happened is the pilot noticed what he thought was a plane. He thought about a mile and a half out in front of him, because they're under visual flight rules. They have to look, and they can see at night, they could see the flashing. Well, he quickly realized it was a whole lot closer than a mile and a half, and it was a drone right in his windshield, and took evasive action. Did not hit the drone, but a cruising speed of a medical helicopter is about 150 miles an hour. That impact, even if it had just been in the windshield, that would have gone through the windshield and could have caused a lot of damage. But if it had gotten in the prop, gotten in the tail rotor, it would have taken the aircraft down. The helicopters, medical helicopters, are flying over 500 feet by FAA regulations, and this one was over 500. Well,
the drone,
yes, the drone was over 500 feet. Well, drones have to stay under 400 feet. They have to remain within line of sight. You have to be able to see your drone at all times. And to be flying at night, you actually have to have some special classes for that. You have to take the classes and get the certification to do that. So there were several laws that were broken that caused by the drone flying. So luckily no one was injured, but just realize if you buy one of these for your grandkids or your kids, or even yourself, just know what those rules are. It's interesting. You have to follow the FAA regulations where Those of us that are flying more in a professional mode, putting these videos on YouTube, there is a little bit of compensation for that, and so we're required to have what they call a Part 107 pilot's license, and I do have that. And the things that we learn in taking that class, learning the regulations, those still have to be followed by the hobbyist, even though they don't have the license. So you have to educate yourself on what you can do with those drones. Keep yourself out of trouble and keep anybody from getting hurt.
And that's a very good point, because a friend of mine, she thought, she bought a drone, she was going on vacation, and she thought because it didn't cost as much as some of the other drones, and she was just using it to take pictures on her vacation. She did not realize that there were any rules for her to follow.
Yeah.
She really, I mean, because she's like, I didn't pay but so much for this drone, and I got the lower price one because I didn't want to have to do anything, and that's not true.
Yeah, the DJI Mini, it's probably like $700. That is capable of doing amazing things. It can go way over 400 feet, and it can fly away from you for many miles. But so if you don't know the rules and you're just looking at the screen and you let it fly, that's why a lot of times you'll hear us when we're flying. Brenda will be spotting for me. She's keeping an eye on it. We have to keep it in sight, and we can't use binoculars or anything like that. It has to be, only thing you use is eyeglasses if you need them. But you have to be able to keep the drone in sight or have a spotter with you. So I'll sometimes look at my screen, and Brenda will be my spotter, and she has to be right beside. We can't communicate by phone or anything. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say on it. Just as a public service announcement.
It's fun. Yeah. I mean, I love watching him fly the drone, but just to let everybody know that there are rules that, we don't want anybody getting in trouble when they're flying their drone.
I don't want anybody to get hurt. So please be careful. I don't want to see a medical helicopter get taken down. I've already been to 2 funerals of people I knew on helicopters. All right.
Next topic.
The big question we're asked is, how in the world do you choose a village to live in down here? That's tough.
When there's so many.
It can be overwhelming. Now, what do we have? About 130,000 people, I think is the last number I heard, that live here. So there's lots of choices. I don't know how many villages.
As soon as you said it, I was thinking, I wish I knew the number to be able to say how many there are.
It's a bunch. I was going to say 100, but that's probably not right.
I don't know.
It's a lot of villages. Yeah. But I agree. How to choose, that's tough. So I want to tell you, first thing is take a deep breath and don't stress. We were stressing a bit as we were trying to figure it out. But there's a lot of common theme for all of the villages, so it really doesn't matter in the big picture, it doesn't matter where you're at. Everybody pays the same amenity fee, whether you live in a modular home that was built in the 70s, or if you're in a brand new huge mansion with a garage for your RV, and yes, they do have those. You're going to pay the exact same amenity fee. You're going to have access to all of the same pools. You can go to any pool. You can go to any recreation center. You don't have to go to the one that is in your backyard. You can go to one all the way across the villages if you want. Everything is golf cart accessible. There's no area currently, because when Finney was initially built, it wasn't connected. But everything now is connected with the new bridges open. So you can get anywhere by golf cart in the villages. So keep that all in mind as the big picture. That you're not going to.
Amenities are not affected by what village you live in.
Exactly. You have access to everything. Now.
The location makes a difference.
It does. But remember, we always hear this. What about people that, if you were to ask anyone in the villages where the best village is at? And this is why most people don't answer it if you ask that question online or something.
From a trolley tour several years ago, the tour guide said this to us that were on the trolley, that you can ask anybody, because there's so much pride in everybody's where they live, that if you ask this person what's the best village to live in, they'll say where they live. Somebody else, where's the best village to live in? They'll say where they live. And so she said there's so much pride in everybody's neighborhood that you can't go wrong. And she was trying to just tell everybody on the trolley, when you're making your choice, you know, it will pan out and you'll end up exactly where you need to be.
Yeah. So everybody will say their village is the best, but we really know McClure is the best. So you can stop the search. McClure is where to go.
Wherever you end up is going to be fine.
Yeah, but let's talk about some things maybe to consider. If you do need to kind of narrow down some things, there were some factors for us. Part of it, I needed to have access to the turnpike. So we chose.
So you could go to the airport.
So I get to the airport, yeah. So we chose to live in one of the villages that was down near the turnpike. So that was a factor for us. But
the other factor was that we wanted to build a home because we were bringing my mom with us, and we needed to have her bathroom and all handicap accessible.
Yeah,
so I mean that was important to us too. We needed to be able to build a home.
Yeah.
So those were two things that were really part of our decision making, which brought us to the south end.
Yeah. But other things to consider is if you have. Well, first of all, I want to highly recommend, and I've said this before, visit the villages as much as you can before you move here. And if you could, stay for a month or so. Rent a house, stay for a month, and learn, you know, about where everything is and where you are drawn to, what areas you're drawn to.
One of the things I have noticed is that down south, it just seems like a lot more walking and bike paths and nature areas that are very accessible. They have them up north also, but it just seems like that's one of the sales things that we were being told was all the walking trails that were down here.
Yeah, and it's draws in every area. So this is nature kind of down here, a little more nature. The Spanish Springs area, honestly, that has a lot of pros to there.
Yeah.
The Spanish Springs area has all of the entertainment venues. Now, I'm not talking about the squares. The squares is free entertainment, but the show places. Savannah Center. Like we went to Savannah Center a couple times in the past few weeks. We saw Rich Little there. So I didn't realize he was still alive, but it was a great show. Great show.
And the Gatlin Brothers.
The Gatlin Brothers
2
the other
days
night.
ago.
Yeah.
They were wonderful.
So that's in the Savannah Center. Also, they have the Sharon at the Spanish Springs Town Square there. It's a larger venue there.
Yeah.
We saw Trace Atkins there.
Oh,
the Philharmonic Orchestra plays. Now these are events you get tickets to. They're pay events.
But the quality is just great.
Yeah.
I mean, I love going to shows.
Yeah. And then you also have Tierra del Sol, the studio. It's a playhouse.
The studio theater. Yeah.
That's also Spanish Springs. Those are the only 3 show places, I'll call them, that I know of.
We know of.
That are in the village. They're all up there. So if that's important to you, you may want to consider that area or somewhere closer to Spanish Springs. The shopping, we've told you this before.
441.
The northern area is full of the shopping. 441. It's got everything you need and can think of there.
Yeah.
From like a Sam's Club type place to your Walmarts to the more specific stores.
Belk, Kirkland's, Bath and Body Works.
Yeah, I mean it's a very populated area as far as commercial.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, and your restaurants are packed in there.
Yeah.
Now down here in the southern area, we don't have a lot of that. Will we eventually? Probably.
Yeah.
Now everywhere has the basics. You have a grocery store, and the basics apparently is a nail salon. They're in almost every of the shopping centers. So there's those type things are going to be accessible. If you're looking for the big shopping and you want to be really close to it, for us to go up to 441, it's going to take us 30 or 40 minutes by car. It's rare we're going to go by cart unless we're taking you along to show you something. We don't typically drive up there in our golf cart. So that's another thing. So there's a lot of things in the northern part to consider. The bonds. Northern part, portions of it never had bonds.
Yeah.
But most of the Spanish Springs area, even if they had bonds, most of them are paid off by now. So it's something to consider. That's a cost savings. Home prices are slightly lower up there. But the homes are still very nice.
Oh, very nice.
Same floor plans, many of them have the same floor plans that are being built today.
And some are different. So.
Yeah, there are some. They're different. They're modified a little bit. Then you move down a little bit in the middle section right now of the existing board. So what's the middle now? The middle will change over time. I think we're going to be in the middle in a few years.
Yeah.
But the middle section, between 466 and 466A.
That's what I consider the middle right now.
The big thing there is just it's golf. If you're big into championship golf courses, that's probably where the most of them are close by, is in that section through there.
And the Aqua Range, I think it's just beautiful to drive by that.
Yeah, and there's some shopping there too along 466A, but it's not as much as 441.
No.
And there's some of it is not golf cart accessible because it's outside of the villages, but it's right up against it, the Lowe's, and there's a Trailwind Shopping Center. All right, and then down you get to the Brownwood, and then south of 44 down to where we're at in McClure, and all these areas we've been showing you that are building up. Again, that is the nature area, nature trails.
Alligators.
Alligators. There's alligators everywhere, but we do have a lot of alligators.
We do have a lot of alligators.
We seem to have a few more ponds. They do the smaller but more plentiful ponds down here, I feel like.
And we see some of the same alligators at the same ponds.
Yeah.
So it's pretty homey to me.
Yeah. So figuring out where your interests are, that type of thing, is important for choosing. And let's see. Oh, did want to mention if you want a new home, you're just insisting you're going to do a brand new home. You want to be the first one to live in it. You're looking south of 44. There are new construction north of there. I'll give you one exception, but everything is down here. The exception to that is in the historic section north of 441, north of Spanish Springs, the original part where a lot of manufactured homes were initially at. Little by little, some of those are being converted over. Now, I don't know, I've heard different things on how it's happening. I don't know if someone buys that manufactured home and then they tear it down and replace it with a new home, or I've heard the developer has bought some of those lands and they do that conversion and then sell the home. I'm not sure which way it's happening, but I can tell you there are new homes, brand new homes built up there, and we've seen them. We ride through, and it's really revitalizing. Well, it really doesn't need revitalizing. That's not really the best term for it, but some of the homes are switching over to block and stucco and the stick built rather than manufactured homes. So that's a place you may find a few new ones, but in general, your new construction is going to be south of 44. Why do people move? If they get here and they've done all this research and they move somewhere, why do they move?
I know a couple reasons. When you're moving down here, some people have miscalculated. They thought that they were going to downsize, and then when they get here, they feel like maybe they downsized too much. Some people move down here and then think, well, there's so many activities, I didn't downsize enough. So those are two things that I've heard of, and the other one would be that I've also heard. Three I've heard was once they lived here, then they realized what activities they really enjoyed doing, and maybe it's some kind of activity that is always happening at one rec center 20 minutes from here. So then, and then that area is what they're drawn to. So then they'll move to be closer to where they just feel like they're going every day too.
Yeah, and that can be mitigated by doing that. Try and stay for a month or so.
Yeah.
And figure out where those things are at that you enjoy. But most of the people that do move, at least the ones we've run into, I'm not sure we've met anybody that's moved out of the villages. I'm sure it happens.
Yeah.
But we've had, just on our street alone, three moves. And we're not that long of a street, but they were all moves to a different house.
In the villages.
Some people, and I don't know if this is the case with these, but all three of those actually stayed in the villages. But I do know there's a lot of people that like, and I could see us doing that if we just didn't have, it was just too hard to move. Some people like the process of building a house and the excitement of doing it. They'll build the house, they'll live in it a year or two, and they sell it, take their profits, and start another one here in the villages. And
I'd have to say that, I've seen enough boxes for a while, But I can see down the road wanting to build another house because I absolutely loved the designing of this house and the going to the Street of Dreams and picking out down to the light fixtures and the handles on everything. So I've told him before, they're building the new Street of Dreams in Brownwood, and I told him one day we might need to build another house just so I can go in there and see everything that they have.
Yeah.
So we're not moving anytime soon, but who knows?
Exactly. And so I'm not sure how helpful that was. We try to give you some of the thought processes that go into it. I've written some emails back to people, long, drawn out, and I'm going, there's just too much to put in here.
So
I said, I'll make a video.
He's like, we'll talk it through.
Yeah. So anyway, hopefully it's a little helpful hints. But I don't think you can go wrong down here.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
Let's say a worst case scenario, you bought a house, and it ended up that you chose too big a house, too small a house, or the location wasn't right. The worst case, or even if you decided that the Villages wasn't for you and you wanted to move somewhere else, homes here are not losing value. They've never lost value.
Which makes me very happy.
Yeah, you'll be able to sell it, no problem, and get another house. Of course, if you build in the Villages, you sell this one, you got to buy another one. They're expensive too. So but that's what people like to do.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, those were our topics for the night. Hope it was helpful to you.
Molly hung in there.
Yeah, she did. She didn't run away like last time. If you would, subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up on the video if it was helpful to you. And if you haven't already done so, look on the YouTube page. There's a little bell there. If you ring that bell, it'll notify you the next time we explore the Villages.
Oh, it's time's up. Look, she's out.
There she goes. See you next time.
Bye.